my name is Noah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I wanted to make a follow-up to my previous video that discussed the importance of not only understanding inflation, but ensuring that your income keeps up with it on a year-to-year basis. On the previous video, I received a little bit of feedback from some viewers that stated that the numbers behind the video were well thought out. However, they wanted something that was a little bit more relatable on a personal basis. So, in this video, I've created an example that I hope helps illustrate this point and relates to more individuals on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so here we are in Excel once again. You guys know how much I love working in Excel. For this example, before I get right into it, I wanted to share the setup for the data for this example, just so you guys know where it's coming from and what it all means. So in these two columns, column A and column B, I'm going to represent a few different things. So the first one in column A is going to be not the year in which we're talking about, right? So this is going to be 2023, the current year that we're in right now. And right underneath that are going to be 15 different categories here, right? So you can see that there's rent, utilities, electric, gasoline, entertainment, phone, discretionary, and so on. And next to it, right adjacent, there's going to be different numerical values, monetary values. And these are representing the total annual expense within that category. So an example, rent for the year 2023 for the entire year was $12,000. Your phone bill for 2023 was $600, and so on and so forth. So right underneath that, there's going to be a total section, and this is cleverly titled because it is going to total up all of the expenses within those 15 different categories, right? So within 2023, the total expenses for all of those different categories was $37,440. Right underneath that, there is going to be an annual income section. As I mentioned in the previous video, it's absolutely crucial to really have a good understanding of what your income needs to be, not only currently in this moment, but what it should be in the future and so on. The next 2 years, the next 4 years, the next 5 years, and so on. Underneath that is the annual saving amount. And underneath that is the annual investing amount. So these will basically represent the amount of money this individual in this example, or this could represent you yourself, wants to not only save but invest on an annual basis. The way in which I came up with the annual saving amount and the annual investing amount is that after all expenses, right? So after the $37,000 in expenses, what are we left over with if we're taking home $50,000, right? And the total, is 12,000 something or another. And what I wanted to do for this example was essentially split it right down the middle. So half is going to go to saving and half is going to go to investing. Generally speaking, that's maybe not the best ratio, right? Saving to investing ratio, but it's just an example here. So that's kind of how I came up with that. So what I'm going to do now is expand the rest of the data that I have in this worksheet, and I want to kind of take a look at what things might look like in 2024, 2025, and then 2026. Okay, so I have expanded the worksheet here. I hope you can see all of the data that's presented on the screen right now. But essentially, what is going on is after 2023, the current year, right, assuming that, these are the expenses for 2023, we're looking into the future here. So we're looking into 2024, we're looking into 2025, and then looking into 2026. Now, what's happening year to year, if you saw these blue arrows and looked above it, is the inflation, right? So this is what we discussed in decent detail in the previous video, but this is kind of a condensed version of it. So as each year goes on, we're going again with that 2.5% of inflation. So after 2023, we go into 2024, obviously, and we encompass 2.5% inflation, the same going into 2025, and then the same going into 2026. So what I want anybody watching this video to look at least in this section right here, is the difference in the cost of goods or services from year to year, right? So don't look to the right in 2025 and 26 just yet. Let's look at 2023 and 2024, and we'll just kind of go through one by one quickly, right? So after 2% inflation, right? So after 2023 ends, you go into 2024, the inflation from the previous year will bleed into the next year, right? It's not generally just going to disappear. So what's happening, right? Look at our first row here. Rent, instead of $1,200 on the year, is looking like it's going to be on pace for $12,300, right? So 2.5% more. Utilities, the same, not $600 anymore, $615 for the same amount of utilities, right? And this is the same unit for rent. It's not, you're just re-signing on the same place and it's just, $300 more. Usually what apartments will do, in this example, we're working with an apartment, not a mortgage, but they'll send you a notice of what your rent is going to look like, assuming that you renew. And it's, $300 is actually a pretty accurate estimate from my experience. However, in the Austin area here, I actually have heard of individuals receiving a notice that was $500, $600, sometimes even $700 more to renew their lease when their entire monthly payment was right around $1,200. So it pretty unbelievable in some cases, right? So, but generally speaking, with 2.5% inflation, that's what it's going to look like. And then we can kind of just go down the list here, right? Groceries, if you're spending $10,400, it's going to be 10,660 some, right? And then your vehicle generally won't change. In this example, I do have it changing, but usually it's a set amount, right, that you're paying to pay back your vehicle. So we can kind of ignore that. But gasoline, right, is one that we definitely changes with time. It changes. It can even change, within a day by a certain amount too. So instead of the annual $2,400, it's a little bit over that. And everything else, right? Your entertainment, your phone. The phone is another one that's here or there, right? It depends on what plan you're on and, just many different things. But inflation kind of goes across the entire board of goods and services. So we can just leave it for this example. And discretionary and then miscellaneous charges as well, we have up 2.5%. So now naturally, what's going to happen is your total expenses is going to go up, right? So instead of it being $37,440, the projected year, projected following year, assuming you don't change anything, you're getting exactly the same product or products or services, exactly the same thing, it's going to be $38,376 now, right? So 2.5% more across the board. So what does that change? What else does that change, right? That also changes the amount of money that we have left over from at the end of the year, right? So let's say in this example, 2024 we're making $50,000. 2023 we took home $50,000 as well. Naturally, if the total expenses is higher, you're not going to have the same leftover 12,560, right? It's going to be a little bit lower. And in this case, it's going to be $11,624 now because we had to, pay for that increased rate after inflation. So now what happens is that the amount that you or myself or any individual is able to save and invest is going to change, right? Because the amount left over to do different things with it's going to be different unless, different alterations are made throughout the year and so on. But we're just going to take, for example, you're getting the same product and service each year and, you're just dealing with inflation as it comes. So now, if we want to split the leftover money that we've got at the end of the year, instead of being able to save the annual amount of $6,280 that we wanted to initially, we can do $5,800. And the same is for investing, right? So instead of doing the 62, we can do 58, right? Because that is the amount that's left over divided by 2. It's not a huge difference, right? You're ballparking it right about now to about $400. But that's that amount of money, that $400 over years and years and years, makes a pretty significant difference. So now let's go into one more year, right? We're going into 2025 now to see, how different things are 2 years down the road, right? So we're going to deal again, right, with the 2.5 inflation. It's just the standard, this is just what it is. So we go into 2025, we're in the same apartment, we're getting the same amount of food, same services, same dine out locations, same entertainment, same everything, right? So now what are things looking like? Our rent isn't 1,200 flat or 12,000 flat on the year anymore. It's 12,600. Utilities a little bit more, electric a little bit more, groceries creeping on 11,000 now, when it was 10,400 in 2023. It's the same story as it was in 2024, but now let's go down here again, right? So now our total expenses obviously even higher, right? So let's say our income is still $50,000 take home. You're in this hypothetical example, you've peaked at a pay rate, right? So there's no more going up for you, unfortunately. In this example, there's no more going up. So you're at $50,000. Now the amount left over in 2025 is $10,665. So it's even lower, obviously, than it is in 2024. So now the amount that we can save and invest is even lower, right? So how much lower? About 500 for saving and 500 for investing. So now we dividing our leftover money in half, we can do 5,300 in saving and then the same in investing as well. Let's go one more year just for fun, right? 2026. Now rent is nearly $13,000. So now it's almost up an entire $1,000. Is this going to be the case? It's anybody's guess, right? But if it keeps up with the average inflation, that's what it's going to be. Rent is a kind of a sore spot depending on what city you're in. I know for a fact in Austin here, it's going to go up by 1,000 in far less than, these 3 years here. It'll probably go up in probably 2, maybe sometimes less, depending on the circumstances, right? But everything else goes up again as well, right? Just accounting for inflation. You've got, your gasoline, your medical, your groceries, electric, everything, right? It all goes up. And now our total is $40,000. So now leftover money at the end of the year, assuming our income didn't change, so assuming we're still at take home $50,000, is sub $10,000 now, right? $9,681. So now we say, okay, well, I got to divide that by 2 and I want to put half in saving, half investing. Now the amount that we can put in is $4,800 per each account. That's a stark difference than what we wanted to do, or that we started doing in 2023, right? In 2023, we did 6,200, right? We were able to do 62 in both accounts. We thought that was where we wanted to be. It went a year and then it was down a little bit, not too much, and then down again and then down again. Now we're quite a bit down. 48,000 compared to 6,200 is quite a stark difference in the amount of money that we can put away. And as you can imagine, I'm not going to go in, 10, 15 years into the future, but if this trend would continue, your annual saving and investing would effectively be zero, right? There would be no money left over, assuming you didn't have any kind of annual income increase, you were capped out, or whatever it may be. So now again, I think you're probably wondering, well, Noah, what is a solution for this, right? This example seems like it's, you're destined to be net zero, right? You're destined to not be able to save anything or invest anything. And that's exactly right? If you stay on this trend, having the same income and getting the same services every year, those are the two important aspects here, you will be in this situation, right? Over time, you'll net zero, right? You will spend pretty much everything, right? Assuming you don't have any kind of income increase. And that's why in the previous video, I mentioned how vital it is to make sure that you yourself are keeping track of this. So, you can decide if you should request a promotion, if you should apply for a promotion, if you can request a raise, if you can apply for a raise at certain companies, or if you need to get up and leave companies to pursue a different role entirely, which is what a lot of people tend to do, right, on a year-to-year basis. If your company isn't keeping up with the raises for at least accounting for inflation to make it so, it's not ideal, obviously, right, but it's at least better than receiving a pay cut. So what is the answer here, right? What can we do in order to try to ameliorate this, right? Well, there's two examples. One is, we're not really going to get into in this video because that's more of a personal thing, is just going to a different job, right? It's chasing more money. Okay, fine, so be it. Let's say you really like your job though, right? You love it. You love your people. You love being there. You don't mind working. It is a gig that you'd be a fool to leave. So what? It's another adjustment, right? You can cut back, right? That's the reverse way, is saying, okay, well, if I still want to make my annual saving and investing goal, I can cut back on my expenses in certain areas to ensure that that money is left over at the end of the day. Fair enough, right? This is a completely valid process to try to do that, right? So let's see what it looks like. So I'm gonna unhide a few more columns within this spreadsheet, and we can kind of take a look at that then. Okay, so I've unhid a few more columns within the spreadsheet, and I've highlighted the important bits in yellow. So what do the yellow bits, the yellow cells in this case mean, right? So the yellow cells that you're seeing right now, one here for 2024, one for 2025, one for 2026, are the amount of money, is the dollar amount that you will have to cut from all of your expenses in order to maintain the annual saving amount that you promised that you do for yourself back in 2023, which is the 6,200. Again, this is a make-believe number, right? This is arbitrary. It's just for this example. 62 isn't the magic number. It's just what you came up with. And I'm telling you that you came up with it for your needs, for a house, for your investing, for your retirement, so on and so forth. Okay, 6,200. We're set on it. So 2024, right? The highlighted section says $936. Okay, $1,000, not bad, right? What this means, like I said, is that $936 needs to come out somewhere from here. From these 15 categories, rent all the way to miscellaneous, 936 needs to be pulled out so you can meet your saving and investing goal, right? Okay, easy enough, right? So let's see what we can do, right? Rent, I don't know what we're going to do. We could sign a shorter lease and then, be homeless on a box for a month or live at home for a month. That might take care of it, right? If it's $1,000 a month right? Okay, that's one solution right then and there. Utilities, it's already it's 6:15 right now. You could not shower or shower at a gym for a year and save all that money. Okay, maybe do your dishes, in your neighbor's hose or something like that. Electric is already over it, right? So you could completely cut out your electric bill and you still wouldn't be there, right? Groceries, you eat less, right? So you go on a cut for 3 months. That might be $1,000 in food, just about. Dining out is the same thing, right? So you stop going out, you actually start making food for once, and try to save $1,000. Fitness, it's only $240 a month. That's not making any kind of difference. Now, the interesting thing, right, is between fitness, your medical expenses, and your pet, that's about $1,000. So you could say, okay, well, I'll scrap the gym membership, scrap the massage, I won't get medical treatment, and I'm not going to feed my pet for a year. Boom, $1,000. I can save and invest. Congratulations, you did it, right? Vehicle, a vehicle is not fun financially to think about or deal with. In my personal opinion, you could maybe take it to the dealership and try to get $50 for it, like on Pawn Stars, and see how far that gets you. But vehicle, we're not going to touch. Gasoline, you could just stop stop going places, right? Maybe you stop going to work and, see what happens. Donations, you weren't donating anyways. So if anything, you would go to a donation center like Red Cross and ask them for a donation for you, for the $1,000 to help you invest, right? Okay, maybe try that. Entertainment, just over $1,000. You could cut it out completely, but then you'd be miserable, right? So let's keep the $1,200 for entertainment in there. Your phone bill, $600. What are you gonna do? Not play on your phone? Not call your mom? That could work, right? Save a little bit of money. Discretionary. This is your pots and your pans and your shoes and your shirts. You could maybe get rid of it and just start diving into dumpsters to try to find that kind of stuff. That could work and get you decently close. Miscellaneous. So any kind of emergency expense you just don't do, right? So, you get a bloody nose, you need toilet paper, tissue, you just don't buy it, right? You use your shirt, you chuck that in the trash, and then you call it good for an entire year. Something like that is what you would need to do in order to recoup the losses that you would see with inflation, to try to get that money back into your saving and investing account for 2024. Now it gets interesting, right? So now look at 2025. Now the amount that you would need to cut is $1,895 that you would have to cut from your total expenses, right? And these 15 categories aren't the entire story, right? You could break it down into more, which is what I do within my service, but within here you would have to cut out $1,800. So now, okay, where do you go, right? 1,800. You could do the rent thing again. You could completely cut out, quite a bit of this, right? You could cut out this plus this. So electric and utility, you cut out. I guess you're just showering and doing dishes at the gym at this point, make use of that gym membership, right? Same thing with donations. You weren't donating anyways. You got to go back and say, I need $800 donated to me now so I can keep saving and investing, right? Now 2026, right? Our final example. Now you need to cut out almost $3,000. You need to cut out $2,879. It's a lot of money to just start not spending, right? The gasoline, right? It's decently close. You'd have to cut out gasoline and, fitness and medical. So you can't drive. You can't go to the hospital, right? You can't get your tooth filled if you get a cavity, and you can't work out. So you get hurt at the gym that you don't have. So you're in your backyard working out. You get hurt, and then you can't buy gas to get to the hospital to get treatment. Boom, you're golden, right? So, as you can see, this is a pretty I guess this isn't an extreme example, but you can see how if you're not keeping track of how much you need to be making year to year, it's very easy to start falling behind, right? So initially, like I said, the 6,000 you're investing, you feel good or saving, and then it goes to 58 and you're like, well, I still saved, and then it goes to 5,300, you're still saving, so you feel good, and then 48. So initially, I think it takes a lot for people to kind of hit that switch to get back on track. But over time, you can see how you'll just bottom out, right? And there will be nothing left over. And this isn't even the whole story, right? There's so many things that could happen within a couple years. What if you have a kid, right? What if you have a really bad accident? What if you have, something financially catastrophic that happens? Then you just bottom out immediately, right? So, and no one wants that. So the best thing that you can do for yourself to, and we're just talking about inflation here, right, is to not only track, where you're at financially, use an analyst like myself or, a financial service at a different institution, see where you're at currently, and also make a plan on your own or with someone on a year-to-year basis to ensure that you are making the amount that you need to be making to live the life that you want to be living. And there we go. I hope you were able to relate a little bit better to that example that I just showed you, and I hope you were able to take something away from it and apply it within your own financial endeavors. With that being said, if you have any questions for me personally, or if you have any questions about my financial services, I've left a link to my email and a link to my company website in the description box below. With that being said, thank you again for your time and happy financing.